Okay, in the middle of 2022, after a couple of months after I had done the first Pitch Fest in New York City at the end of April, and then I'd done another one in California last February, I started working with my POD publisher on the first two of my three Do Ask Do Tell books, on some enhanced marketing campaigns, and also an attempt to get the film industry more interested in adapting the book. One of the reasons even though the first book was published by iUniverse in 2000, the other ones were 2002 and then 2014. One of the reasons for the interest is, the political climate has changed. As you know, the the Supreme Court opinion, and last June, put into question some of the rights that we take for granted, privacy rights, what they call substantive due process. And even though I don't talk about abortion very much, I talk about gay rights issues and sexual privacy and free speech and the conflicts that come up with speech and so forth. Some of the stuff I talk about became more pertinent. The publisher is iUniverse, part of Author Solutions, and they're in Bloomington, Indiana. This is a picture from Brown County State Park, which is near Bloomington. In the summer of 1970, when I was working for RCA, I spent 2 months in Indianapolis, and I remember an excursion to this place one afternoon while I was working there. But recently there's been a press release from iUniverse. I just wanted to show you what that looks like. Again, the books are going to be, the first book is Do Ask Do Tell, A Gay Conservative Lashes Back, and the second one is Do Ask Do Tell, When Liberty is Stressed. The first one is a story narrative, for the most part. We'll get into that. The second one is a collection of essays, and then the third one is much later. That's not part of this package. But let me go then now to the actual press release, and I'll give you the URL for it in the notes. It's in the middle of my book purchase page on my blog. I'll probably add it to another place soon, but let me just read you the press releases. New marketing campaign set for Do Ask Do Tell, A Gay Conservative Lashes Back. Published book discusses a maze of arguments and issues that bear on individual rights and responsibilities. Arlington, Virginia, in 1993, when President Bill Clinton proposed lifting the ban on gays in the military, many members of Congress objected, resulting eventually in a compromise known as Don't Ask, Don't Tell, codified into law in December 1993. That was part of the Defense Appropriations Act, actually. Bill Bushkin noticed a striking parallel between these arguments about privacy in the barracks and the circumstances of his expulsion from William and Mary as a freshman with scholarship in November of 1961. Set for a new marketing campaign, Do Ask, Do Tell, A Gay Conservative Lashes Back, published by iUniverse in August 2000, walks the reader through the incredible maze of arguments and issues that bear on individual rights and responsibilities. Here, Bushkin provides his own detailed perspectives on many sensitive issues such as sexual orientation, race, religious faith, and cultural identity. I don't actually talk about gender identity as such, because that's a much more recent idea. He presents his own expulsion from college for admitting being gay, and his own subsequent and unusual stint in the military service during the Vietnam War years. An excerpt from the book reads, "For America to publicly commit itself to two congruent principles, a clear line to fence out government intervention in private lives and a consistent cultural imperative to personal responsibility and commitment, would set a good example for the rest of the world, which, given our rejoicing over the end of the Cold War, which so shaped my life, seems as dangerous and unstable as ever. The most striking aspect of the book is the narrative of how military values and external politics affected individual rights in previous generations from the 1950s until the 1990s. My experience happened in a civilian area college and exposes parallels between military and civilian lives that are more significant than what most people usually perceive. Bushka says, when asked what he wants readers to take away from the book, he answers, for people to remember that any policy that regulates or favors certain personal behaviors will provide disadvantages to some individual people, however laudable the group, or perhaps nation or ethnicity, being favored because of its goals. For more details, please visit their website there. And then there's the ISBN and all that information and the purchase information about the author, Bill Bushka, and that's my pen name. John William Bushka is my legal name. He's a libertarian activist and gay conservative freelance writer. He was born in 1943 and raised as an only child in Arlington, Virginia. He became a good student and started piano at age 8. However, he fell behind in physical and social development. He was expelled from college after saying he was gay in late 1961. Nevertheless, he graduated from another school, earned a master's degree, Master of Arts in Mathematics, and was drafted into military service in 1968. When the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy emerged in 1993, he leveraged his own irony to become a writer and blogger. That is the first press release. Now here's the second one for the 2002 book. Published book presents 10 essays about nuances of individual liberty is enhanced by the internet but is challenged by world events. The new challenges to liberty posed particularly by terrorism and now corporate scandals, and this was published in 2002 shortly after 9/11. Let me just remind you of that, 9/11. As well as the growing understanding of the legal and ethical problems that accompany the opportunities for self-expression presented by the internet, prompted Bill Bushka's release of Don't Ask, Don't Tell When Liberty is Stressed in 2002. Don't Ask, Don't Tell, Do Ask, Do Tell When Liberty is Stressed presents 10 essays about the nuances of individual liberty as enhanced recently as of 2002 publication by the internet, but is challenged by world events like 9/11. These topics include the military draft, gays in the military, gay rights when perceived as competing with family values, and psychological. The most important chapter of the book now may be the discussion of how to design and implement Bill of Rights 2. It shows readers how individual liberties can be affected by the external threats to a society and can change the focus on what is considered moral behavior by individuals given the prospect for future survival of society as a whole. An excerpt from the book reads, at the end of chapter 7, which is a chapter called Narcissism, Affiliation, and Polarity, which is about psychological polarity, which is kind of parallel to gender identity today, but was invented by Paul Rosenfels at the 9th Street Center. But it only refers to use for psychological growth, not for activism. So let me read that quote. One can look at narcissism as a catalyst for a chemical reaction, as explained in those hated high school chemistry courses. It is helpful in simulating creative expression in relationships, but does not constitute creativity itself. The creative challenge is in finding something special to love or to value in a partner and perform as one person that can both recognize and develop those special gifts. It is not sufficient just to care about another person when that person can make one feel turned on. We need to keep our social preoccupation with looks, whether in the gay male context or not, in the proper perspective. That's a big issue for me, and that has real implications as to what one is willing to get involved in and when confronted by challenges of inequality and inequity in the outside world. That really matters, I think. New issues have come up since 2002, the 2002 publication of this book, such as public health, COVID-19, which affect personal movement. The gender identity issues and differs in many ways from gay rights, but shares concerns about the shared spaces, now especially for women. The chapter in Polarity 7 maintains that identity is a matter for personal growth apart from public activism. Bushka says, when asked what he wants readers to take away from his book, he states, any policy that regulates or favors certain personal behaviors will prove disadvantageous to some individual people, however laudable the group or perhaps nation or ethnicity being favored believes its goals. And then there's a biography at the end of it. So I'll provide, the links when I upload it. I forgot to turn off my ringtone in my cell phone, and that may be a real important call because something else is going on. Maybe I'll have to talk about later. But anyway, so I don't apologize for it. This is a real resonance. But anyway, those are the press releases today, and I thank you for listening.